You take it for granted that Bhagwan is a forgiving God. You could do him anything. But strange, the person next to you just...
राम राम रमेची रमे राम मनोरमे सहस्त्र नाम तात्पर्यम राम नाम वरायणे सरस्वती कामलारमय ये कभी न होय चितभंग गौरी गणेश कामराज में यही सभा में दान समं भजने हरि गोविंदा भजने कृष्णा मुकुंदा भजने हरि गोविंदा भजने हरि गोविंदा भजने कृष्णा मुकुंदा भजने हरि गोविंदा भजने हरि गोविंदा भजने कृष्ण मुकुंदा भजने कृष्ण मुकुंदा भजने हरि गोविंदा भजने कृष्ण मुकुंदा भजने कृष्ण मुकुंदा हरि गोविंदा भजले कृष्ण मुकुंदा भजले हरि गोविंदा भजन करो सत्संग से रामायण में मखानी रामायण में मखानी भजन करो सत्संग से रामायण में मखानी रामायण में मखानी संसार की माया में समर समर पग धारना भजरे हरि गोविंदा भजरे हरि गोविंदा भजरे कृष्ण मुकुंदा भजरे हरि गोविंदा काम क्रोध मदलो मखुन्या माया कभी नड़ाना माया कभी नड़ाना काम क्रोध मदलो मखुन्या माया कभी नड़ाना माया कभी नड़ाना संसार की माया में समण समण पग धारना जोड़े हरि गोविंदा जोड़े हरि गोविंदा भजड़े कृष्ण मुकुंदा जोड़े हरि गोविंदा भजड़े हरि गोविंदा भजड़े कृष्ण मुकुंदा भजरे कृष्ण मुकुंदा भजरे हरि गोविंदा भजरे कृष्ण मुकुंदा भजरे कृष्ण मुकुंदा भजरे हरि गोविंदा भजरे कृष्ण मुकुंदा भजरे हरि गोविंदा भजरे हरि गोविंदा भजरे हरि गोविंदा। ऐसी लागी लगन, ऐसी लागी लगन हो, ऐसी लागी लगन मेरा हो गई मगन। वो तो गड़ी गड़ी हरि गुण गाने लगे। ऐसी लागी लगन, ऐसी लागी लगन मेरा हो गई मगन। वो तो गड़ी गड़ी हरि गुण गाने लगे। ऐसी लागी लगन। कोई रोके नहीं, कोई टोके नहीं, कोई रोके नहीं, कोई टोके नहीं। मेरा गोविंद गोपाल गाने लगे। वो तो गणी गणी हरि गुण गाने लगे। ऐसी लागी लगन, ऐसी लागी लगन मेरा हो गई मगन। वो तो गड़ी गड़ी हरि गुण गाने लगे। बैठे संतों के संग बने मोहन के रंग। मेरा प्रेमी प्रीतम को मनाने लगे। बैठी संतों के संग मोहन के रंग। मेरा प्रेमी प्रीतम को मनाने लगे। वो तो गड़ी गड़ी हरि गुण गाने लगे। ऐसी लागी लगन, ऐसी लागी लगन मेरा हो गई मगन। वो तो गड़ी गड़ी हरि गुण गाने लगे। मैनों में चली बन के जोगन चली। मीरा रानी निवानी कहाने लगे। ऐसी लागी लगन, राना ने निशनिया मानो अमृत दिया। राना ने निशनिया मानो अमृत दिया। मेरा सालन में सहता समाने लगे। वो तो गड़ी गड़ी हरि गुण गाने लगे। ऐसी लागी लगन, ऐसी लागी लगन मेरा हो गई मगन। वो तो गड़ी गड़ी हरि गुण गाने लगे। महलों में चली बन के जोगन चढ़ी। मीरा रानी निवानी कहाने लगे। ऐसी लागी लगन, ऐसी लागी लगन, ऐसी लागी लगन। हरि का भजन कर ले मेरे मटिया भजन बिना ना मिले शुभ गतिया। हरि का भजन कर ले मेरे मटिया भजन बिना ना मिले शुभ गतिया। हरि का भजन कर ले मेरे मटिया भजन बिना ना मिले शुभ गतिया। तन पावा जगा दुड़ा मानुष तन पावा। हरि का भजन बिना काम न आया। हरि का भजन बिना काम न आया। दीपक मिलतिया हरि का भजन कर ये मेरे मटिया भजन बिना ना मिले शुभ गतिया। हरि का भजन कर ये मेरे मटिया भजन बिना ना मिले शुभ गतिया। मेरा भजन कर ले मेरे मटिया भजन बिना ना मिले शुभ गतिया।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
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 ओम नमो
वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते 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 वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
वृंदावन मेरे लाल की जय। करब हो जाए आरती लीजिए। जरा सोल प्लीज स्टैंड एज वी जॉइन इन द ओपनिंग आरती। सिद्धि बुद्धि प्रदे देवी भुक्ति मुक्ति प्रदायिनी मंत्र मूर्ति सदा देवी महालक्ष्मी नमोस्तुते। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु लक्ष्मी रूपेण संस्थिता। नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। जय 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 भागवतम। जय 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 भागवतम।
जय 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 भागवतम। जय 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 भागवतम।
जय 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 भागवतम। जय 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 भागवतम।
जय 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 भागवतम। जय 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 भागवतम।
जय जय भागवत भगवान की है आरती।
पापियों को पाप से है तारती।
जय जय भागवत भगवान की है आरती।
पापियों को पाप से है तारती।
ये अमर गंतये मूर्ति पंतये पंचम वेद निराला नव ज्योति जगाने वाला।
ये अमर ग्रंथ ये मोक्ति पंथ ये पंचम वेद निराला नव ज्योति जगाने वाला।
हरि गाने ही वरदाने
हरि गान यही वरदान यही।
जग के मंगल की आरती।
पापियों को पाप से है तारती।
जय जय भागवत भगवान की है आरती।
पापियों को पाप से है तारती।
ये शांति दीप पावन पुनीत। हरि दर्श दिखाने वाला।
ये शांति दीप पावन पुनीत पापों को मिटाने वाला। हरि दर्श दिखाने वाला।
ये सुख करनी हे दुख हरनी।
ये सुख करनी ये दुख हरनी।
ये मधुसूदन की आरती।
पापियों को पाप से है तारती।
जय जय भागवत भगवान की है आरती।
पापियों को पाप से है तारती।
मधुर बोल जगपंत कोल सनवार दिखाने वाला बिगड़ी को बनाने वाला
ये मधुर बोल जगपंत बोल सनमाद दिखाने वाला बिगड़ी को बनाने वाला
श्री राम यही घनश्याम यही
श्री राम यही घनश्याम यही
सबकी महिमा की आरती
पापियों को पाप से है तारती
जय जय भागवत भगवान की है आरती
पापियों को पाप से है तारती
नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा
नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा
नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा
नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा जय सद्गुरुदेवा जय सद्गुरुदेवा जय सद्गुरुदेवा
जय 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 भागवतम जय 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 भागवतम
जय 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 भागवतम जय 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 भागवतम
जय 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 भागवतम जय 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 भागवतम
जय 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 भागवतम जय 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 भागवतम
जय जय भागवत भगवान की है आरती
पापियों को पाप से है तारती
जय जय भागवत भगवान की है आरती
पापियों को पाप से है तारती
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 वृंदावन मेरे लाल की जय आसन पर बैठी मेरे सोल प्लीज बी सीटेड ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय My adorations, my prostrations at the lotus-like feet of all our Brahman Devatas. We welcome all of you who came from far and near to join with us this evening. We welcome all of those who are listening to us and to all of those who are viewing us via radio and TV frequencies. To all kind and no corporate sponsors, we express sentiments of gratitude and expressions of thanks once more. And so this evening, as we prepare our minds and our souls to listen to the beautiful katha that will come out of our Garud Mahapuran. Haath jod binti karo. Let us bow our heads in prayer. Hari Om. Chant with me. Hari Om. With all your love. Hari Om. Together. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirviganam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada Sarvamangalamangali Shive Sarvati Satike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Bande Deva Umapatim Suruguru Bande Jagatakaranam Bande Pannagabhushanam Mrigamara Bande Pashunapatim Bande Surusushankaranganenam Bande Mukunda Priyam Bande Bhakta Janadhara Kapidara Bande Shiva Shankaram Trayambakam Yajamai Sugandim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandanat Mrityurmukshayamamritat Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah Sri Guru Charana Saroji Raja Varno Raghuvar Vimanayasha
Jodayak Phalachai
Bodhahina Tanu Janike
Sumiro Pavan Kumar
Balabhuta Vidya Dehu Mohi नासे रोग हरे सब पीरा जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीरा संकट से हनुमानी छुड़ावे मन कर्म वचन ध्यान जो लावे जय 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 हनुमानी गोसाई कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाई जो शतवारी पाते कर होई झूठ ही वंदे महासुख होई वृंदावन कृष्ण चंद्र जी की जय शरणम हंस हंसाय विद्मे परमहंसाय धीमे तन्नो हंसा प्रचोदयात् सरस्वती मां वंदना ओम ऐं सरस्वत्यै नमः ओम ऐं सरस्वत्यै नमः ओम ऐं सरस्वत्यै नमः सरस्वती माता की जय. Let us join in Kirtan. Let us clap our hands. Let us sing as we make a joyful noise unto Bhagwan. Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om.
Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om.
Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om.
Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om.
गोविंद गोविंद बजो राधे गोविंद, गोपाल गोपाल बजो कृष्ण मुकुंद.
गोविंद गोविंद भजो राधे गोविंद, गोपाल गोपाल भजो कृष्ण मुकुंद.
गोविंद गोविंद बजो राधे गोविंद, गोपाल गोपाल बजो कृष्ण मुकुंद.
गोविंद गोविंद भजो राधे गोविंद, गोपाल गोपाल भजो कृष्ण मुकुंद.
हरि ओम हरि ओम हरि ओम हरि ओम.
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 गोविंद गोविंद बजो राधे गोविंद, गोपाल गोपाल बजो कृष्ण मुकुंद.
गोविंद गोविंद भजो राधे गोविंद, गोपाल गोपाल भजो कृष्ण मुकुंद.
हरि ओम हरि ओम हरि ओम हरि ओम.
हरि ओम हरि ओम हरि ओम हरि ओम.
हरि ओम हरि ओम हरि ओम हरि ओम.
हरि ओम हरि ओम
गोपाला, जय गोविंद राधे गोपाला।
राधे गोविंद गोपाला, जय गोविंद राधे गोपाला।
राधे गोविंद गोपाला, जय गोविंद राधे गोपाला।
राधे गोविंद गोपाला, जय गोविंद राधे गोपाला।
कृष्णा मधुसूदना, मधुसूदना कृष्णा।
कृष्णा मधुसूदना, मधुसूदना कृष्णा।
कृष्णा मधुसूदना, मधुसूदना कृष्णा।
कृष्णा मधुसूदना, मधुसूदना कृष्णा।
गोविंद गोविंद गोपाला,
बोलो गोविंद गोविंद गोपाला।
साई गोविंद गोविंद गोपाला।
साई गोविंद गोविंद गोपाला।
राधे गोविंद गोपाला, जय गोविंद राधे 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 गोपाला।
कृष्णा मधुसूदना, मधुसूदना कृष्णा।
कृष्णा मधुसूदना, मधुसूदना कृष्णा।
कृष्णा मधुसूदना, मधुसूदना कृष्णा।
कृष्णा मधुसूदना, मधुसूदना कृष्णा।
गोविंद गोविंद गोपाला,
बोलो गोविंद गोविंद गोपाला।
साई गोविंद गोविंद गोपाला।
साई गोविंद गोविंद गोपाला।
राधे गोविंद गोपाला, जय गोविंद राधे गोपाला।
राधे गोविंद गोपाला, जय गोविंद राधे गोपाला।
गोविंद हरे गोपाल हरे, हे गोपी गोपी बाला। गोविंद हरे गोपाल हरे, हे मुरली गान लोला।
गोविंद हरे गोपाल हरे, हे गोपी गोपी बाला। गोविंद हरे गोपाल हरे, हे मुरली गान लोला।
गोविंद हरे गोपाल हरे, हे गोपी गोपी बाला। गोविंद हरे गोपाल हरे, हे मुरली गान लोला।
गोविंद हरे गोपाल हरे, हे गोपी गोपी बाला। गोविंद हरे गोपाल हरे, हे मुरली गान लोला।
जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला, जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला। जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला।
जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला, जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला। जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला।
जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला, जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला। जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला।
जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला, जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला। जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला।
चित चोटा यशोदा की बार, नवनीत चोरी गोपाल।
चित चोरा यशोदा की बात, नवनीत जोर गोपाल।
चित चोटा यशोदा की बार, नवनीत चोरी गोपाल।
चित चोरा यशोदा की बात, नवनीत जोर गोपाल।
गोविंद हरे गोपाल हरे, गोपी गोपी बाला गोविंद हरि गोपाल हरि हे मुरली ज्ञान लोला
गोविंद हरि गोपाल हरि हे गोपी गोपी बाला गोविंद हरि गोपाल हरि हे मुरली ज्ञान लोला
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 हे मुरली ज्ञान लोला राधे गोविंद गोपाल जय गोविंद राधे गोपाल
राधे गोविंद गोपाला जय गोविंद राधे गोपाला.
There are many interesting things that is narrated in the Garud Mahapurana, some of which they're very scary, and when you listen to these words, you become very fearful. You become very fearful of dying and what the after that experience is going to be. So, you start treading onto the righteous path because you do not want torment when death comes. You want the transition for your soul to be a peaceful one. In scripture, in religion, in discourse, in every text that we read, it talks about the lokas. Have you ever heard about the lokas before? Lokas mean the different realms in which the devatas and the devis and they dwell. Lokas. Some of the very familiar ones is Satyalok, Tapalok, Janalok, Mahalok, Bhulok. And so these lokas, you and I and the ordinary mind think that these lokas are somewhere in the cosmic. You and I think that this is somewhere in the heavens, somewhere. And it is far-fetched. And you have to die to go to this place called the lokas. But in the Garud Purana, in chapter 15, verse 56 to 59, it talks about the lokas. And it specifies how much lokas are there. How much lokas are there? Have any idea? Have any idea how much lokas there are? Different lokas. There are 14 lokas. And so it says these lokas, they are not found somewhere in space or in the cosmic. They are found in your body, your very body. The lokas, they dwell in your body. For instance, Satyalok at the top of your head. Tapalok on your forehead. Tapalok. Tapa. Have you ever heard about that word tapa before? That's why anytime you have to hit somebody on the head, you say you give them a tapalok. You give them a tap. Now, indirectly we have said and we have named this a tap. But the reason why is because tapalok is in this region of the head. And that's where you will hit. And you'll give a tap. But because you're hitting in tapalok. Does that make sense? Innocently or unconsciously or never giving thought to that, we name it a tap. But it's because tapalok dwells in our head. The forehead. Janalok is found in the mouth. Mahalok is found in the chest and the heart. Bhulok is found in the stomach area. And so the different lokas, they are found in the body itself. That's why we are told that your body is a sacred thing. Have you ever heard that before? That's why you are told that your body is a mandir. Have you ever heard that before? That's why you are told that your body is something sacred. And it is God's gift to you. And what you use it to do is your gift back to Bhagwan, to God. What do we spend our time doing? What do we spend our energy doing? Bhagwan Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he says it is important to work, it is important to build, it is important to save, it is important to acquire, it is important to enjoy, but never become attached or a slave to the things and the beings of the world. For a day will come when you will have to renounce everything, and so separation from the things that you are attached to becomes very painful. It becomes very painful. So live your life in such a way that there is enjoyment and there is pleasure. But when the time of separation comes, the pain is not unbearable. But then I want to tell you, in the Garud Purana, Bhagwan Vishnu tells Garud, he says, Garud, I choose the strongest. I always choose the strongest. Bhagwan Vishnu is saying. And why? Why? You think that it is so unfortunate that your husband may have died before you, and you think that God has not been just to you. But think about it if it was the other way around. What his pain would have been, and how lost he would have been without you. Think about how confusing it would have been for his soul while he was alive. You and I and the ordinary mind thinks that God is unjust when death comes. But death is an integral part of life. And of all the uncertain things, the most certain thing is that we will all. Have you given thought to that? Have you given thought to that? I'm scared. I'm afraid. I always ask, anybody afraid of that? Well, I want to tell you, look me. I am afraid of that. I'm afraid to die. Not because I don't want to die, but because of what I've read that happens to your soul after you die. I'm afraid to die, you know why? Because you and I, we have only heard of, and we have only read, and we have only experienced through scripture what it describes to us. But I know what I'm experiencing now. I don't know what I will experience there. I'm not sure, I'm not certain what I will experience there. The ordinary mind thinks, I will die and go to a place called heaven and meet with a man called God. I want to tell you, heaven is here now. Did you know? And you could turn your heaven into hell anytime you choose to. And you could allow the company that you keep to turn your heaven into hell anytime you choose to. So when you choose the company and the association, Goswami Tulsidas ji says, Binu satsanga vivek na hoi, Ram kripa binu surabana soi, satsangat muga mangala moya, soi parasiddha sadana hitashola. Keep the company of those who will help you to polish yourself. Keep the company of those who will help you to enjoy life. Keep the company of those who will help you to smile, not just from your lip, but from deep down within your heart. You must be able to smile. They must bring joy. The people that bring joy to us bring the worst pain to us too, you know. Have you given thought to that? The people that make us happy, they're the people who make us the most unhappy too. Have you given thought to that? Garud is asking many beautiful questions. I have planned totally a different format to read. But then when I came here, everything transformed for itself. And so all of the elaborate explanations were turned into simple explanations where you can understand. Garud goes on to ask, he says, in a funeral ceremony, what color should be worn by those who are in attendance and by those who are participating in the rituals? Should I tell what he says? Or do we know already? Baba, she did over like red, so we all wearing red. Well, I mean, since we all wore red a few years ago, we almost like we did. Because they say we wore red and what? Oh. So since we wore that, we are almost like we're dead. But the Guru Pran says that the color that is specified that we should wear is the color white. Everybody should wear the color white. It is the prescribed color according to scripture. So tomorrow night, the color for tomorrow night is the color. I'm telling you, I'm telling them, I'm telling me, I'm still wearing yellow. I got permission from my critic. But the color that you're supposed to wear is the color white. So tomorrow night, the color that we're all going to wear is white. Symbolic of total surrender and praying on behalf of the souls of our Pitras. We will wear the color white. He goes on to ask, are there any beings that are prohibited from attending funeral ceremonies? Are there any people who should not attend funeral ceremonies? And I'm not talking about if you're vexed with your brother for land, you put a security guard and say, leave him outside, he mustn't come. Who is prohibited from attending funeral ceremonies? We live in a world among people who behave confused, and though they know the right thing, they still choose to follow all the wrong things. And then, when problems occur, when situations occur, because of their own actions, everybody else becomes the blame but them. Do you know that? Everybody else becomes the blame but them. Who is prohibited from attending a funeral ceremony? I'm reading what the book says. This is not my opinion. Who do you think, Dave? Who do you think is prohibited? It is our tradition that if a husband dies, the wife should not go to the cremation site. That is our tradition in Trinidad. That is our tradition. Tradition and scripture is totally different. The Garuda says that a pure chaste wife, no, I'll get in trouble for saying this, but it is the truth, and I read it in the book. The Garuda says that when a pure chaste wife loses her husband, she goes and she sits on the chitta and she's cremated along with her husband. Will we do that? Will we do that? Because of place, date, time, situation and circumstances, the Garuda says, then if husband dies, then there are rituals that are performed. And so the wife puts things that are valuable to her in the coffin or the casket of her husband, symbolic of her giving up this attachment that she once shared with him. And so, for instance, this sindoor is placed in the box. In some instances, a coconut wrapped in a yellow cloth is placed in the box. And so many different rituals are done to pacify this or to change this. Wife, do you love your husband so much? Our president say, love. That word love. Love comes with many limitations and conditions. True or not? Shake your head like this. True or not? Love comes with limitations and conditions. And love in every facet of any explanation that you can give to that word, love. Who should not attend this ceremony? Bhagwan says, babies and little children, you should not take them to the cremation or to the burial. Nor should you take them to the cremation site or the burial ground. Baba, whole night the child bawling and crying, me and know what happened. I need you to jar the child. I need to smoke you out. Because you know what is the right thing and you know what is the wrong thing and you still choose to do the wrong thing, and then Baba becomes the blame. Everybody becomes the blame but you. Who is prohibited from attending a funeral? A woman who is pregnant in family way. She should not attend a funeral ceremony. It is not my opinion. It is scripture. Who should not attend a funeral ceremony? A person who has had a critical surgery and is in healing. A person who has eye-related surgeries and any kind of major surgery and is in healing never is allowed to attend a funeral. It prolongs the healing period. Have you ever heard that from the old people before? Did you ever hear that? They probably never read this book. They probably had no idea what this book says. But they knew that it was the wrong thing to do, isn't it? Now you walk in with a walker and you're going in the funeral to see the dead man. One day I made a joke. I made a joke that turned out, you ever hear joke the stroke? I made a joke that choked. I go to the cremation, and so the creek is jammed with cremations, and this is many years ago. Jammed with cremation. And so I'm standing under the tree, and a lady comes and she says, Baba, you did this funeral? I said, yes. She said, that is my relative, you know. I said, yes, I know. She said, well, you see what life is? I said, well, today for she and tomorrow for me and the next day for you. And she went home and told her children, Baba said, I'm going to dead day after tomorrow. Her children so lost in ignorance and not even taking the time to find out what I would have said, called me and said, you tell my mother she's going to dead. I said, well, I have news, everybody going to dead. I said, they will cremate all of us right here. She said to them, Baba say, I'm going to dead and they will cremate me right there. And I'm frightened. Miscommunication. And made a big scene unnecessarily. Stop talking to me from that day because I told her that she is going to die, and that's not what I said. It is not what I have to be a ward 1 patient to walk up to you and say something like that. But miscommunication. And sometimes the news is carried in such a way that it sounds so appetizing that you believe everything you hear. You must never believe everything you hear. Believe what you could see though. Anything that you could see, believe that. But not everything you hear, you must believe. The Garuda says that a woman who is pregnant should not attend. A person who has wounds or a person who has done a critical surgery should not attend. It is prohibited. Also, it goes on to say that if you have made a sankalp, a vow to perform worship, and worship is happening, for instance, if you are having a yajna, or you are having a wedding, or you are having any of these things, and you have made the vow, the dulahin and the dulaha has made a vow that they will stay home. They have a kangan on their hand. They're not supposed to leave the home. They cannot attend the. It doesn't mean that anybody else can't attend. They have made a vow, a sankalp. You're hosting a yajna. You made the sankalp that I will sit for 7 days and 7 nights and I will pray and I will make the offerings of love. But a funeral is considered to be sutak or chutihar. And when you go into that environment, you inhabit that quality of becoming sutak too. Baba, well, you reading the yajna and you doing the funeral, then how come? You're not the Baba. Thank God you're not the Baba. Because if you were the Baba, then you'll be in more trouble. Because the Pandits, they have rituals that they have to perform after every funeral ceremony. The Janeyu has to be changed and Hawan has to be done and many different things has to be done. That's why the Pandit never comes to your home to do the puja from a funeral. He goes home first. That's why he gets late. And when he reaches late, you know what Auntie Shuma say? He always late. But the right thing is the right thing. You have to do the right thing. Also, it specifies that when you're doing puja, the Janeyu has to be placed on one shoulder. And when you're doing funerals and after that rituals, the Janeyu is placed on the next shoulder. On the opposite side. So all of these things are just things for information. For those who wear the Yajnopaveet, the Janeyu. Garud goes on to ask, and he's asking, so when you have critical surgeries or you're in healing, you ought not to attend a funeral. And logically, any person who genuinely care about you wouldn't mind that you didn't attend because they know that you are sick. They know that you are not well and you're not in a position to attend. Stay home. Have you ever heard that? Stay home. It goes on to say, Garud is now asking, he says, then after performing the Daskatra, the next ceremony is called the Bhandara. Have you ever heard of the Bhandara before? What is a Bhandara? What is a Bhandara? You ever see a Bhandara pot before? How big is it? How big is a Bhandara pot? Bhandara translates to mean a feast. That's why it is called a Bhandara pot, because the pot is gigantic, it is huge. In our kitchen, you will see that we have Bhandara pots, because we have to cook for the multitude. Dave and Cindy says, where did you get this pot from? And I said we had to customize this pot. Because you know why? Instead of cooking many pots, we will just cook one huge pot. So we have a Bhandara pot. Actually, we have Bhandara pots as is. You all will see them in the kitchen when you go. Bhandara means feast. And so this day, the main thing in the puja, in the worship, is the food. Food is something very sacred. Do you all know this? Food is something very sacred. And even the food that is prepared is called prasadam. Even the food that is prepared is the parsad. Never, ever, ever, never invite people to your home and reproach them for food. It is a mahapap. It is a great sin. Food is sacred. We cook the potter shatain and you hide half inside the microwave. And you're so greedy, you hide it there, and you too forget. 2 o'clock in the morning when you remember, it's because it's spoiled. And God laughed at you and he said, good, greedy. None for you. In a Bhandara, whenever you have a puja, whenever you are having a yajna, whenever you are having any kind of worship, I'm telling you from my heart, especially if you are the host, never sit down first to eat. Always allow your guests to eat first. And if there is no food remaining, then you eat bread or dead. Allow your guests to eat first. Atiti Devo Bhava. Your guest is God. Treat your guests like God. Not when the guests come, you say, oh God. Treat them like God. Atiti Devo Bhava. Your guest is God. That's why when you give them the gift of the parsad, have you ever seen how somebody reacts when you give them a parsad? A parcel of parsad? You have done this and you did not know this. I have sat here many years. I have sat on seats like this thousands of times. And I have looked from here and I've seen the reaction of every person who would have received the parsad. And from the time they get the parsad, a smile comes to their face. You smile and you didn't even know that. Unconsciously you smile. Because you know why? You have recognized that this is the blessing of Bhagwan. And you smile to receive it. It happened one or two who say, I want next one. But the majority says, they smile and they take the parsad and touch it to their forehead. You didn't know that. But I have seen that. I see that every single day. Even today I saw that. Where you smile from the time you receive your parsad. Because you are receiving a blessing. Anytime you receive a blessing, you receive it with a... And anytime you receive trouble, how you receive it? With a cry. Isn't it? With a cry. He says, this ritual is called the Bhandara. And why is it called the Bhandara? Because it is a feast. The main thing in that puja is the bhog, the food that could be shared or should be shared. Baba, I taking out the food for them dead people. And I go cook a little bit and I go take it out. And we go eat and thing, and me doing nothing big because you know I can't manage again old. That's like the mantra now. If there is nothing I do, I make sure that the Pitri Puja is done to the best of my ability. Ask them, they will tell you. If there is nothing I do, I know that we're inviting 20 people. I know we might be inviting 40 people. I cook for 400 people. Ask them, they will tell you. And at the end of the prayers, at the end of the puja, they all look at me, what are we going to do with all this food? And I say, we're going to box it and we're going to give it to all of the homeless people and we're going to share it for all of the neighbors and you're going to share for your neighbor too and we're going to give the food because that is where the blessing is. Even the food. When you give somebody food and you give them it with purity from your heart, you know how they receive it? How they receive it? But when you give them and you say, hey, look it. How you receive it? You receive it, give me quick. But you say, look, I gave you, I prepared, I packed it for you. And they say, okay, you put shatai? They smile, isn't it? Never, ever, 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 never reproach anybody for food. You become my enemy instantly. And if ever I go to your home and you make the comment to me, I'm greedy, I never, ever, never, ever will eat by you again. Because if you know anything about me, you're lucky if I really eat something by you. Because I eat now in my slim days. In my fluffy days, you had to be worried, but not again. Garud goes on to ask, tell me please, I want to know, how is this ritual performed, the ritual of the Bhandara? I want to know. I'm inquisitive. Tell me. Bhagwan begins to tell. He says, Garud, what about the ceremony you want to know? And he gives the elaborate explanation to Garud, but I'm going to tell you in simple form so that you'll have an idea of what happens. He says, Garud, particular bedi is consecrated so that the sapinda will be done. And so this is done outside of the home, in a thatched shed or hut or outside of the home. Pindadan is done. And so the bedi is in two parts. Have you ever seen what the bedi looks like? You and I and the ordinary mind says the bedi represents the body. Have you ever said that before? Well, tonight I want to tell you that bedi has nothing to do with the body. Because if they have to make a body like mine, Dave, they'll have to get a load of red sand. Munilal, you'll have to order it as you hear that to make sure we get it on time. The bedi has nothing to do with the body. There is a small part of the bedi that is called Pretasana. And there is a long part of the bedi that is called Devasana. The pindas that are offered on the small bedi is offered in the name of the Pitris. And the pindas that is offered on the long bedi is offered in the name of the Devatas, Lord Vishnu and his many manifestations. And so, in some instances, they offered chanting the moon in which the pinda, the monthly pinda should be offered, and etc. And so there are many different methods in which it is performed. But the gist of performing this ritual is that after the Shraddha is done, you merge the pinda of the Pitris in oneness with the pindas of the Devatas. For Hinduism preaches us, do not pray to go to a place called heaven, but pray for what is called mukti, salvation, to merge in oneness with Bhagwan. So when we merge the pindas, indirectly we are praying, Bhagwan, may the soul of our beloved merge in oneness with you. That's what we are doing. That's what we are praying for. But generations, pindas, they are offered symbolic of the generations. So mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, great-great-grandmother, father, grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather. But do you know there are some people, they don't know their grandfather's name? There's some people, they don't know their great-grandfather's name. There's some people, you ask them, so what is your great-grandmother? And they say, who is she? As though we are supposed to know who is she. I want to tell you, parents, it is important for you to tell your children the name of your mother and the name of your grandmother, so that when the time comes and rituals have to be performed, you don't guess names. I also want to say to you, daughter-in-law, you must be the best friend of your mother-in-law, because when the Shraddha has to be performed, the pinda right next to yours is your mother-in-law. And you didn't get along too good while you were alive, they're mixing you up with she. So you know what? You have to learn to forgive, forget, be humble, be simple, enjoy life. Know that you can't change the world, but you could change your approach to the world. You could change your reaction to the things of the world and the beings of the world. Garud goes on to ask, he says, who performs the ritual of the Bhandara? Is it the Mahapat? Who performs the ritual? And he goes on to say, the holy Brahmana, the Vipra. Vipra means the Pandit. The Pandit performs the ritual of the... How will you know the Pandit to choose? How will you know? You know, because you know the Pandits that came from the lineage. You know, you will know. Automatically you will know. You know, I don't have to tell you, you know. He goes on to ask what kind of food is prohibited in the Bhandara. Narayan, 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 Bhajumana Narayan. What kind of food is prohibited from the Bhandara or the after-death ceremonies? What do you think? Should I tell? Because if I tell, many people will not attend no Bhandara again because they wouldn't get no chana. Worship is being done to Lord Vishnu. And in the worship of Lord Vishnu, grains are prohibited. That's why the rice has to be ground to dust to make the pinda. That's why the urdi has to be ground to dust to make the pinda. That's why on the outside they make suhari. Sweet rice don't go with suhari, you know. What goes with suhari? Did I need to tell you that? What needs to go with suhari? That's why the old people used to say, soak the rice to make the sweet rice in the night before. So that when you begin to boil it, you know what will happen? It will be like gilla. You know what's gilla? When you hear gilla in Trinidad, all you think about is the beach at Chulhan, 4 foot falling out of pot. That's what you think of. But that is scripture. Scripture has taught us that. That if because of place, day, time, situation and circumstances that worship is being done to Lord Vishnu and you cannot, there is nothing that you can do, and it is absolutely necessary to prepare rice as the bhog, you must boil it to this puppy state where there is no grain visible, where it is gooey like. What are the foods that are prohibited? सुखदेव कहे मुनि ज्ञानी, सुनो भूप भागवत वाणी। सुखदेव कहे मुनि ज्ञानी, सुनो भूप भागवत वाणी। सुखदेव कहे मुनि ज्ञानी, सुनो भूप भागवत वाणी। So it says, and these are the words of the Garuda Purana. This is not my opinion. Grains are prohibited. Is rice a grain? You figure it out. Is chana grain? You figure it out. Whatever. What else is prohibited? Pumpkin. This is not my opinion. It is what the book is saying. And many other things. I'm just telling you those two things because I know you mightn't like me after that. But the thing is, I can only read what the book says. I can only tell you what the book says. And these things are prohibited. In the Western world, in this age that we live in, the people who know and identify that these things are prohibited, they prepare their food separately that they will take out, and so then they prepare all of the other normal things for the guests to eat. Is that the right thing to do? I don't know. Is that the wrong thing to do? I don't know. Is it that Lord Vishnu will not bless that part of the food? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I have no clue. Garuda goes on to ask, he says, who is the main deity that is worshipped? And so Bhagwan Vishnu in the form of Lord Krishna is worshipped. And so Gita Devi. Gita Devi is worshipped. And that's why when you do the Gita part, you make Suhari. Because Gita is not a Devata. Gita is a Devi. And you must make the Parsad of Devi Mata. And that's why we make Suhari also. Makes sense now? That's why you make Suhari in the Bhandara. Because Gita is a Devi, not a Devata. He goes on to ask, he says, what is one of the most integral dons that can be given when giving food and food as a gift? Because yesterday we listened to what kind of gift should be given in the Siddha. What should be given? But one of the things that I left out is one of the things that Garuda is asking again. And he says, one of the main gifts that should be given is salt. We should give salt in dan. You should give salt in. Long ago it was a tradition that you never gave the Baba salt. You all remember that? Everybody was afraid to give the Baba salt. So they'll give the Baba all sorts of things, sugar and all kind of things, but they will never give salt. But salt is one of the main things that should be incorporated in the dhan, in the siddha. Why? The Garuda Purana says that when you give salt while you are alive, you have secured not being reborn in the lower species like the ants and the... You have secured that blessing. So you give salt. A few nights ago, I said to them and they looked at me. I said, you better go in the kitchen quick and find the salt for Nigel. He was eating avocado and bread. And I said to them, go. So in your next life, you wouldn't have to be born as a bachak or an ant, or any of those things. And so give him the salt. You're getting a chance to sprinkle the salt. And they look at me, Wow. He came back and he ate it without the salt. But in my mind, I said, maybe I should have get it. But then my Rasi is lazy. So I remained put. So maybe I too will have to come back as a bachak. I'm not sure. The Garuda Purana says, salt should be given. Garuda goes on to ask, he says, in giving gift of food, how much siddhas should we give when we celebrate the Bhandara? How much should we give? How much should we give? He says, and in the very description he says, and I want you to listen to what he says. He says, all gifts should be given within your means. Listen to this. All gifts should be given within your... Say that with me. Gifts should be given within your... The old people used to say, never hang your hat where you can't. Never try to impress anybody. Give within your means. Long ago, the old people, they weren't rich, but they always had. There was never a time. They used to say it run low, but it don't run. It will run low, but it will never run out. They had barakat. You know why? Because they had a pure heart. When the time came to give, they will give. You will never know that they don't have. They will find it to give. In the world that we live in, the more we have, the less we give. The more we have, the more difficult we find it to give. The more difficult we find it to part with. Because you know why? We are touched. The Guru Pran says, give within your means. If you are a farmer, give from the farm. Give from the tomato and the baigan, and give. Give from your stock that you earn a living from. He says, and if you can afford, you give 1, you give 3, you give 5, you give 7, you give, and you always give in an uneven, never keeping check, always give in an uneven number. Always give in an uneven number. A few days ago, Nigel and I, we opened an envelope, and in the envelope had a $50, a $5, a $1, 35 cents, actually 36 cents, and I'm looking at him, I say, this 1 cent have any value? And you see, what might be of no sense to you is logical to somebody else, because they are not giving exact. They're giving in an uneven number. Even the cent that they have to give, uneven. And that's how the old people gave. Because when they were giving the seed in time gone by, they will take up a handful of coin and just throw it in there. Because they never wanted to have a count of how much they gave. They never wanted to have an exact amount of how much they gave. Long ago, before the Baba left the Bedi, you will take up every coin and wash it out and give it to the Baba. True or not? Some Babas will not move until you do it. But you had to wash the coin and give it to the Baba. In 2022, you know what happened? You take up everything on the Bedi too, and you throw it in the river. And you know what you do other than that? You know what we do and we're guilty of? And I'm hoping that everybody could comprehend and appreciate what I'm saying. You take the stuff from your puja and you put it in a bag. Then you go by the river and you empty it and you tie the bag right there by the river. You tie the bag on the railing of the river. Cleanliness is next to. Anytime you do that, you have incurred a sin because you are littering. Anytime you have done that, you have incurred a sin. Just like you took your bag from home and you carried your stuff to the river, take your old bag and carry it back home. Carry it back home. When you look now and you pass by the river, you see it like Christmas tree. Bags tie up all over and looking like rubbish. It reflects badly on us as Hindus. It reflects very badly on us as Hindus. I'm saying that again. It reflects very badly on us as Hindus. We ought to have some more pride. We ought to have some more dignity in the way we portray ourselves and our religion. Because every bag that is tied there, whether it was tied by a Hindu or not, the Hindus will still get the blame. Because we're the ones who go to the river to put our offerings. We're the ones that go to the ocean to put our offerings. Garud, he goes on to say, after performing all of these rituals of the Daskatra, the Bandara, the funeral, all of these rituals, the soul has to make its journey. Continue to tell me about the journey. Then, what is the travel like? And the next thing he's going to talk about is the Gaudan, the gift of the cow. But before he reaches there, Garud goes on to ask, he says, Bhagwan, though all of these rituals would have been performed, then tell me, is there any possibility that the soul could be reborn in a lower species? Is there any possibility that from being a human, the soul could be manifested in a lower species? What do you think? What do you think? Is it possible? सुखदेव कहे मुनि ज्ञानी, सुनो भूप भागवत भानी। सुखदेव कहे मुनि ज्ञानी, सुनो भूप भागवत भानी। Bhagavan says, there is one thing that no amount of ritual that anybody performs in your honor will be able to save you from. And it's called your own karma. The actions that you have performed. The seeds that you have. That's why I say to you with no apology, that when the time comes for you to use your hand and do service, do it. When the time comes and you get an opportunity to take your leg and go to the places of worship, go, attend. Make every effort to attend, to go in the holy places. You don't have to go to the Ganges in India to take a divine bath. You have to come to Palmis Park and sit and listen to the glories of Bhagwan and bathe and bask in the Leela of Paramatma. And this is one of the ways of purifying yourself, by sitting in the company of satsang, by keeping the company of truthfulness. We want to go India to bathe in the Ganges, bathe in the satsang right here. But me, you know, I wish I could have go India. It have a temple right close to your house. You ever went? Me don't go there. They have commerce. Any building ever make commerce? Any building ever make commerce? It's the people like yourself going there to make the commerce. Because if you go with the intention of prayers and God and worship, it have no time for commerce. But anytime you go there idle, you will find everybody else's fault and you will see everybody else's imperfection, but you have forgotten that you are not perfect yourself. I don't entertain the gossip about anybody. You cannot pinpoint anybody else's fault, and the only time you could do that is when you are perfect. And if you are not perfect, then I stop hearing. I listen, you know. I shake my head. You say, well, you know, he here. You know what they also say? Well, he don't do nothing. Because you know why? You know why? I am not perfect myself. I am not perfect myself. But I could tell you about the things that you are doing that I will never even dream of doing, hoping that you will wake up and change. But I'm not going to dictate to anybody what to do, because we live in a world among people, they hate you when you try to guide them rightly. Do you know? They become upset with you when you begin to guide them. They become mad with you. But that's okay. I prefer that you are mad with me and you know how I feel than I pretend. And every time I see you, I have to take a pressure tablet. Garud, he goes on to say, is it that you can be reborn in a lower species? And Bhagwan says yes. Garud says, then narrate to me some of the sins that will permit you to be reborn in a lower species. We spoke about that in the last Garud Puran Yajna. Can you all remember? It says that if you like to thief plants, you know it have some people anyway, they see a plant, they break a branch. And their philosophy is, when you thief it, it is grow better. You ever hear that? Every Trinidadian know that. When you thief the plant, it is grow better. True or not? Shake your head up and down. True or not? You pass by the lady rose plant and you're wrong gay. You thief a piece. And then she say, me and who break up my rose? You say, me and who go do that? Huh? Long ago, everybody go by the airport. They used to break up the fence and break up all kind of thing, and they're going home to plant it. Huh? They say, the Garud Puran tells that a person who thieves or steals plants in their next life, they're reborn as a peacock, a pigeon, or some kind of bird. That kind of bird. That kind of bird. The Garud Puran says a person who steals gold. You ever hear about gold? All you know about gold? You know about gold? What you know about gold? Gold will make anybody go crazy. Gold. You have a hole, but you lose a little something, and in your heart that hurts you till the day you're dead, you know. True or not? Is that true or not? Ladies, how do you react when you lose the stopper for your earring? Huh? You have your husband looking. You know, there was this little story that says that this man, his wife, she lost her earring. And so they had no electricity. 2 days after, he's standing outside the house under the street light and he's feeling on the ground. And the neighbors say, "What are you looking for?" And he said, "Boy, I'm looking for my wife earring, it fall down." And the neighbors say, "Well, where did she drop it?" He said, "Well, she dropped it somewhere inside the house." So the neighbor says, "So why are you looking by the street light?" He said, "Boy, you feel like stupid? Over here have the light. So I'm looking here because inside we have no light. So I'm looking under the street light, faith." 99.9% of the time, when something falls, you always go in the wrong direction looking for it, isn't it? Unless you see and you're guided, then you go in the right place. But other than that, you go in the wrong place looking. You take it for granted it will go where you want it to go, not where it wanted to go on its own. Is that true? Garud, he asks, he says, what happens to a person who steals gold? A person who steals gold secures the birth of being an earthworm. An earthworm. A person who steals land. What happens to a person who steals land? He is reborn as a serpent, a snake. A person who is a butcher, who kills animals. What happens to that person if he is reborn? And Bhagwan Vishnu tells Garud, he is born with a hump on his back. Humpbacked. He goes on to say, should I tell? He goes on to say a person who treats somebody else and neglects his own, figure out what I'm saying, huh? A person who treats somebody else and neglects his own, his responsibility and his priority, he is born as a cockroach. Instantly as he is seen, you know what will happen? What will happen? Jai be akela. And it happens countless times. The pain of death is experienced countless times. So husband, take your long eye and put it in your pocket. Wife, take your long eye and put it in your pocket. When you were choosing your husband, you said, until death do us, not to frustrate you till you're dead. You didn't say that. And husband and wife, I want to tell you, one of the vows says, you made the vow, not me. The vow says, should there ever be a domestic friction between us, you ought not to pack your bag and go anywhere. Nobody is supposed to leave their wife or their husband. For such action on your part will cause public scandal and shame. And such shame will cause disunity. And such disunity will bring divorce. And divorce is not in conformity to the laws of our Dharma. So you can't sit down and go prayers and put on urni and beat Majira a whole night. And you're doing all the wrong thing, you know. You're going straight to hell. You have a one-way fast pass ticket. First class. Straight to hell. So we have to be very mindful, because every action has a consequence that follows. Every action has some kind of consequence that will come. And you want to know something? Many people will get offended when I say that. It's good for you, because the truth always sounds offensive. Nobody likes to hear the truth. Baba, well, you need talking so because you are married. Well, I am not married because I am intelligent. I am not ready to be committed to anybody. You choose. The Ramayana says, you are free to choose. You are not free from the consequences of your choices. You chose. I didn't choose for you. And I'm saying with no apology, don't ask me to find nobody to get married to your children. I am not no agua. I am not married in. I will marry you for free if you want. But don't ask me to find nobody for your daughter, and don't ask me to find nobody for your son. Well, you know so much people. We know people, we don't know their children. We know children, we don't know the background that they came from. We know, but we don't know everything. I am not finding a match for anybody. You find a match. I don't want nobody, bring nobody and drop them by my door and say, you find them here, look them. I am not. And a marriage is not as though you have borrowed something. That anytime the going gets tough and rough, you pick up and you drop back and pick up back. And it is not something that you borrow and lend. A marriage is only successful because of that thing that is called compromise. And you have to be an adult to learn how to compromise, because the devil comes in mysterious ways, charming, loving, and kuchi. Always remember that. And if you are God and godlike and God-sent and believe in God, you would never allow the devil to penetrate you. Nobody's sad story is going to penetrate you and bring disturbance between you and your home. And no good person is going to know that you are a married person who has children or otherwise and put a wedge. And anytime they put a wedge, know that they did that to you and your family. And one day it will come again where you will be the one suffering and ending up lonely. And if you have an aunt like mine, you'll get one baking pan on your head, because she'll say to me, when he was doing he thing where you was, this is my time for payback. And you ever hear about payback? Payback is always a karma, is a Narayan. You say it, not me. You know what it is, not me. Garud, he goes on to ask. Garud goes on to ask. Finally tonight, Dave, Garud asked, why do we take out 5 shares of food? Why do we take out 5 shares of food? Anybody has any clue? Have any idea? Anything you hear 5, the first thing come to mind, element. Next thing come to mind, senses. Baba said, TK the bamboo 5 times on the 5th joint, and we'll tie the languti. Why the 5th joint? 5 element. Baba said, put 5 chandan on the kalsa. Why 5? The 5 element. Everything you hear 5 element. Huh? No. Why 5? Of all the creations that Bhagwan has created, you can class them into 5 main groups. Humans, animals that have 4 legs, animals that fly and live in the air, animals that swim and live in the water, and animals that crawl and creep like the ants and the worms. Nobody knows what rebirth the souls may have to come back in. And when we take out these 5 shares of food, appeasing these 5 main species, we pray that if ever the souls of the Pitris have to come back, in whichever species they may have to take birth, may they never suffer for want of something to eat or something to. Why is the food taken out at Madhyam Kal, at 12 o'clock? Why? The custodian of the offerings is a deity that is called Aryama Pitra. Aryama Pitra. I listened to Pandit on the radio chanting the mantras, and he said, Aryama Pitra Bhagavani Ki, and I could hear your voices saying Jai. And in my mind I said, I wonder if they know who is Aryama Pitra. They're saying Jai, but I wonder if they know who is Aryama Pitra. Who is Aryama Pitra? I'm asking for a friend. Who is Aryama Pitra? Aryama Pitra is Surya Narayan Swami, the sun god. And at 12 o'clock, the sun is most potent. And when you put this food outside, the rays of the sun absorb the energy of this food and take it to the realm of the Pitris. Anytime you see Mama eating the food behind the house, tell me so I know not to come back. Baba put the food and nothing happened to the food. The food remained right there. It is symbolic of praying that the souls of the Pitras will not suffer for want of something to eat or something to. After you put that food and you go back by 1 o'clock and you look at that food, you could see that the energy from that food has been taken. Go for yourself and see. You could see the difference in the food, where it now looks dried up and quail up, and the energy of that food has been taken by Aryama Pitra to the realm of the Pitris. What is a Pitra? and what is a pret? What is a pret and what is a pitri? Pret is what the soul is referred to from the time of death till the 1 year. It is called a pret. And only after the 1 year ceremony is done, the soul is referred to as a pitri. Then and only then the soul is called a pitri. Something that you and I take for granted is that once there is a death and you are performing the rituals of offering the monthly pinda and otherwise, you are prohibited from celebrating Pitri by taking out food and all of these elaborate things until the 1 year happens. And so you should, and you see somebody sneezed? You see somebody sneezed? It is prohibited that you should not take out food until the 1 year comes. That is scriptural, it is not my opinion. You suspend the Pitri worship. Because the soul is called a pret and not a pitra. And it is Pitri Paksh, not Pret Paksh. It is Pitri Paksh. The soul is now on its journey. And so you are prohibited from that. Worship is suspended. And when your Baba tell you that and you didn't like that, you go find a next Baba who will come and take out the food for you. And then when you end up in real trouble, you say, all them Baba crazy. You blame the Pandit. The Pandit becomes the problem. When really and truly, it is you and your ignorance that has created the problem. Hinduism is very straightforward, very simple, very understandable and very meaningful. But the only way you'll ever understand is when you put yourself in a position to learn, to educate yourself. And once you take the time to educate yourself, then life becomes smooth sailing. You're not dependent on anybody for advice. Because sometimes we seek the advice from people who are more confused than us, making it even more confusing. Garud ask many other questions. Tomorrow night we will tell a Bhagavad Katha and we will do a summary of all the nights, all of the things we have heard thus far. This evening, we have come to the end. उमापति महादेव की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय, अयोध्या राम लला की जय, वृंदावन कृष्ण चंद्र की जय, कोरेसा जगन्नाथ की जय, बोलो बे सब संतन की जय, सियापति रामचंद्र की जय शरणम. We're privileged to have Bari with us. Bari ji, can you please come? MP for Princess Town, Bari Padarat. And so I'm going to ask him to give his blessing in whichever way he chooses to. And then we will have the blessings of Pandit Satnarayan tonight. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Sitaram, Sitaram, Jai Sitaram. Revered Vyas, Pandit Sunil Sitahal Maharaj, other Pandits among us this evening, the President and Executive of the Ganesh Utsav Foundation, devotees all. This evening, I'm very happy to join with you in this Garud Puran Yagna as we continue off from Ganesh Utsav into the period of Pitri Paksh. It is a most enlightening discourse that we have received not only today, but over the past few nights. A few nights ago, I was making my way to my bedroom and I heard my mother listening to Pandit Sunil on her cell phone. And she said to me, Pandit, she said, this thing is very scary, but it is very interesting. And on the way down this evening, I made a point to her, because I've been saying it for years. We as Hindus have been in what we call practicing a lot of which is not dharma, but what is tradition. And I've always complimented Pandit Sunil because he takes the time to go into the scriptures to enlighten us about the things we do as Hindus and the reason behind which we do them. So Panditji, I think you are among the very first Pandits in this country that have inculcated a sense of responsibility among all Hindus to find out exactly why we do the things we do, the traditions that make absolutely no sense, but we continue to do them, and putting into practice the true essence of what Dharma is meant to do, and which is to fulfill our lives. So this evening, I want to congratulate Pandit Sunil once more. Every time I come to Palmis Park and I have the opportunity to immerse myself in the ocean of knowledge that comes from the scriptures through Pandit Sunil, I always remind him that he is the conduit that allows us the education and the knowledge in knowing that we act on things that have been passed down to us many generations ago that simply are just traditions. But we must hold on to the things that are more important to us, which is the values, the principles, and the way in which we live our lives. And Pandit Sunil, you have always been the epitome of what you practice and what you preach. So Sitaram, may Bhagwan continue to bless each and every one of you, and I thank you.
We'll ask Pandit Satnarayan to give his blessings, his Ashavad. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Sriman Ved Vyas, Shrotagan, Bhajan Kirtan Mandali, holy pious devotees of God. Once more again, I would like to take this opportunity to say a special thank you to Panditji and this wonderful organization, the Ganesh Utsav Foundation, for allowing me to be part of this wonderful yagya for the past 16 nights or so, right? And this yagya, if you never had the experience of coming to Palmis Park, then there would never be no more. This yagya that has been performed, Panditji have read many kathas for the past many nights. But these kathas that were read, what do you do with these kathas? There's a little story that goes that there was this individual, he had 3 dolls. And he invited the entire kingdom to identify and to see the difference between these dolls. And many people came from near and far, but none could have found or see any difference in these 3 dolls. But one wise Brahmana came and he took a rod. And as he took this rod, he placed it in the ear of the first doll. And when he placed it in the ear of the first doll, the rod came out through the other ear. And that describes some people, not nobody here, hopefully, right? It teaches us that some people, they would go to the yagya, and what they hear, it come through the other ears. You know, like a parent and a child, they go through one ear and they come out through the other one. And some people, when we go to yagya, this is an example of some people. The second one, he took that rod again, and he placed it into the ear, but this time it went through the mouth. And there are people like that also in society. Every time they hear something, they're quick to, well, I don't have to say what happens after, to narrate, and again, narrate the wrong thing after, right? So they hear something and they say something else. And the third, when he took the rod and he placed it into the air, it went as though it was going down into the heart, inside, within. And that is a quality of someone or people that we rarely see. That you hear something and you take it to your heart, you digest it, and you put it to practice. But today, I would pray and hope that you be like that third doll. All the kathas that has been said for the past many nights, take it, digest it, and put it into practice. And surely you would receive the merit or the prasad, as they say, of the yajna. So I pray that the blessing of that divine Lord Krishna Bhagavan be upon each and every one of you as I utter this prayer in the name of that Lord. Harihi Om Akshutam Keshavam Ramanarayanam Krishna Dhamodaram Vasudevam Harim Sridharam Madhavam Gopika Valabam Janaki Nayakam Ramachandram Bhaje Akshutam Keshavam Satyabhamamadhavam Madhavam Sridharam Radhika Radhitam Indira Mandiram Chetase Sundaram Devaki Nandanam Nandanam Sandhane He Govinda He Gopala He Dayanidana He Govinda He Gopala He Dayanidana Sri Vishnu Chandra Bhagavan ki jai. Thank you very much, Pandit.
I'm going to invite to the stage the president of the Orange Valley Vishnu Mandir. Is she the president? The secretary, Paro, to sing for us a bhajan this evening. We acknowledge the presence of all our other Pandits, Pandit Narendra. We acknowledge your presence, and so we thank you for gracing the yajna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I know if there is anybody who is going to be extremely happy about this, it is going to be my mother. She loves to hear Paro sing. So, Auntie Paro, we dedicate this bhajan to all our pitras, wherever their souls are. May they be blessed.
श्री कृष्ण भगवान की जय। ओ सबसे ऊंचे प्रेम सधाए, सबसे ऊंचे प्रेम सधाए, सबसे ऊंचे प्रेम सधाए, सबसे ऊंचे प्रेम सधाए।
सागर
लाल की जय। रम 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 राम बोले,
राम 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 बोले,
रम 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 राम बोले,
राम 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 बोले,
राम बोले, राम बोले,
राम बोले, राम बोले,
राम बोले, राम बोले,
राम बोले, राम बोले,
रम 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 राम बोले,
राम 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 बोले।
रामा रामा सुख रामा, रामा रामा दुख रामा,
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 रम 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 राम बोले,
राम 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 बोले,
रम 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 राम बोले,
राम 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 बोले,
हरे रामा, हरे रामा, रामा रामा हरे हरे,
हरे रामा, रामा रामा हरे हरे,
हरे कृष्णा, कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे,
हरे कृष्णा, कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे।
The Guru Puran narrates thus that in the time of Pitra Paksh, the souls of the Pitris that are trapped in bondage, they are freed. And so those suffering souls, they come to witness what the family members and the descendants they are doing. And so the Guru Puran says that when we neglect to remember them, we neglect to make oblations and offerings on their behalf, then their souls go back at the end of Pitri disappointed and dejected. But not only that, the servants of Yamraj torment those souls, saying that you have worked so hard and you have left so much things behind and so much relatives, and yet they cease to remember you. You are worth nothing, not even a memory in the time of the Pitri. That is why it is imperative upon us to remember the souls of our Pitras. The Guru Puran says, blessed are those who sit in the association of satsang in this time of the Pitri, for the souls rejoice, seeing what their descendants are doing, clapping and singing and chanting the name of Bhagwan, remembering them in prayer. For that is all that we can do, remember them in prayer. This evening, Devika and her sisters, they came. Their mother totally loved me. 1 month ago, is it 1 month? Is it 1 month? 1 month ago she died. 1 month ago. She could not see, she was blind. But she was a Pandit Sunil fanatic. And she will sit by that television and she'll be able to narrate to them word for word every single thing I would have said. And when she will meet me, some of the jokes I would have made or some of the things that I would have said, she'll say, you remember when you say that? You remember when you say that? But can you imagine how happy Mama will be to know that in her absence, you all have found yourself in the yajna? In her absence, you all came here with her in mind and with her memory in mind. So to all of us, we're descendants. Tonight I want to tell you, it is imperative upon us not to wait until people die in our family to show them love and affection. And while we are busy praying on behalf of the souls of those who have died, let us remember to eulogize and to show love and affection to those around us. Let us remember to remind those around us of how important they are and how appreciated they are and how loved they are. The only time you'll ever get a flowers in your whole life is when you lie down in a box and you have no clue you get a flowers. You get so much flowers that they put it all over your face and think if it wasn't there, they would have choked you and kill you again. But while you're alive, you don't get flowers, you get thorns. You sit down in the roseo patch. You only get in chook all the time from all different directions. When you're done that, they stand up and read in eulogy. and talking about you and how good you are. But you have to be dead to be good first, huh? Because when you're alive, nothing good is said about you. Me too. But you know what? That doesn't define who you are. That defines who they are. Their opinion of you defines who they are. Your opinion of yourself defines who you are. Always be the best you, whether what anybody's opinion of you is. And always lift your head and walk with pride. My neighbor is an archbishop. And she said to me one day with my head, I'm walking on the road and my head is down. She said, you the pundit? I said, yes, I'm the pundit. She said, no, you can't be the pundit. I said, I am the pundit. She said, you're too young. I said, well, I am young, but I am the pundit. She said, well, I want to tell you something, pundit. Listen to this old lady. Lift up your head and show the world who you are. Don't bend down your head and walk. Especially when you're walking in front of this house, I'll pelt you down. Lift up your head. Lift yourself with pride. Carry and portray yourself with pride. And don't walk bossy back. Leave that for me. I'm 90 years old. She said, touch your toe. And I bent to touch it. She said, leave your knee straight. I said, Narayan, Narayan, I can't do it. She said, watch me now. She said, the next time you pass here, you'll have to touch your toe without bending your knee. I never pass back. Because I know what she'll tell me. But I want to tell you that these are the memories that will live on long after they die. These are the things that they will be remembered by long after they die. But let us remember, in order for there to be a memory, we have to create memories. One very intelligent, clever, brilliant, degree-given person said, the pundit is encouraging everybody to take a selfie. Well, I want to tell you, take a selfie. It is about yourself. Portray yourself to the best of your ability. Take a picture of yourself. You never know, that might be the picture they're putting on the program for your funeral. Smile when you're taking it. Let me show you how. Smile. And I want to tell you, open your wardrobe and dress up. Pandit Sunil saying, open your wardrobe and dress up. And people will hate you for dressing up and looking nice and smiling. But you know what? Let their own frustration kill them. You smile and you enjoy life. When I saw the post, I looked at the post and I smiled and I promised myself I will never say anything about the post. But you know what? Some posts are made to be broken down when they're put in the wrong place at the wrong time. If you put a post in the middle of your living room, what will happen? You'll bounce it all the time, isn't it? So you'll have to remove it. So, after I would have spoken about the post on the first day, it was removed. But while it was removed from Facebook and Instagram, it remained in my mind. Because you know what? Intelligence is not measured by how much certificates you have. Intelligence is not measured by the occupation that you possess. Intelligence is not measured by the association that you keep. But intelligence is measured by the way you portray yourself, by the way you speak, the actions that you perform, and the way you carry your existence. Always remember that. While we try to impress the world, let us remember, in impressing the world, we might be depressing God. The key and the doorway to mukti, to salvation, is learning to be humble, simple, and sincere. We practice the philosophy. We practice the philosophy not to be like others, but to create footsteps of our own, guiding us onto the pathway of salvation in a righteous way. Satya Sanatana Dharma Ki Jai. Let us all stand as we join in the closing Aarti. This evening we dedicate the Aarti in memory, in honor of the souls of all our Pitras. Tonight you think of them as we pray on their behalf. Shubham karotu kalyanam arogyam sukhasamparam mama shatru vinashaya deepajotir namostute mukam karoti vachalam pangulam kete girim yat kripatamaham vande paramananda madhavam. Sing with me, everybody. Jai Krishna Hare Shri Krishna Hare दुखियों को दुख दूर करे जय 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 कृष्ण हरे
जय कृष्ण हरे श्री कृष्ण हरे दुखियों को दुख दूर करे जय 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 कृष्ण
जब चांद तरफ अंधियारा हो, आशा का दूध किनारा हो।
जब चारों तरफ अंधियारा,
तू चाहे तो सब कुछ कर दे, इसको भी अमृत कर दे।
तू चाहे तो सब कुछ कर दे, इसको भी अमृत कर दे।
पूरन कर ले सबकी आशा,
पूरन कर दे सबकी आशा।
जो भी तेरा ध्यान धरे, तेरे जो भी तेरा ध्यान धरे। जय 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 कृष्ण हरे।
जय कृष्ण हरे, श्री कृष्ण हरे, दुखियों को दुख दूर करे। जय 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 कृष्ण हरे।
तेरा दर्शन को मैं तरस रहा, तेरा नाम भी माला जपते रहो।
तेरा दर्शन को मैं तरस रहा, तेरा नाम ही माला जपते रहो।
भवसागर में तेरी नैया,
भवसागर में तेरी नैया।
चन में जाए किनारा हो, तेरे चन में जाए किनारा हो। जय 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 कृष्ण हरे।
जय कृष्ण हरे, श्री कृष्ण हरे, दुखियों को दुख दूर करे। जय 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 कृष्ण हरे।
गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो,
गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो,
गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो।
गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो।
राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो,
राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो,
राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो।
राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो।
गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो,
गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो,
गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो।
गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो।
बाके बिहारी नंद लाला की बोलो,
बाके बिहारी नंद लाला की बोलो,
बाके बिहारी नंद लाला की बोलो।
बाके बिहारी नंद लाला की बोलो।
गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो,
गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो,
गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो।
गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो।
श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी,
श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी,
श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी।
श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी।
हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा,
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 हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा। असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्युर्मामृतं गमय, मृत्युर्मामृतं गमय। गीता गंगा जगात्री, सीता सत्य सरस्वती, ब्रह्मा विद्या ब्रह्मावली, त्रिसंध्या मुक्तगेहिनी। अर्धमाता चिदानंदा, भवगनी वैनाशिनी, वीरत्रयीपरानंदा, तत्वर्थ ज्ञान मंजली। त्वमेव माता त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सिकात् त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वम् ॐ शान्ति ॐ शान्ति ॐ शान्ति ॐ शान्ति प्रार्थना सुन लो हमार प्रभु प्रेम से कर तब का प्रभु प्रेम से कर तब का प्रभु प्रेम से कर तब का प्रभु प्रार्थना सुन लो हमार प्रभु प्रेम से कर तब का प्रभु प्रेम से कर तब का प्रभु Listen to my prayer, oh Lord Krishna. We are singing praises to you with love. We are singing praises to you with love. We are singing praises to you. Listen to our prayer, oh Lord Krishna. We are singing praises to you with love. We are singing praises to you with love. We are singing praises to you. प्रार्थना सुन लो हमार प्रभु प्रेम से कर तब का प्रभु प्रेम से कर तब का प्रभु प्रेम से कर तब का प्रभु. Turn to the person next to you, in front of you, behind you. Tell them, may Bhagwan bless you now and always. Sita Ram, Sita Rama, Sita Ram kahiye, jahi pe hira ke Rama, jahi pe hira ke Rama, kahi pe hira hi. Sita Ram, Sita Rama, Sita Ram. सत्य सनातन धर्म की सत्य सनातन धर्म की सीता राम Ask them for waiting. Let us all please be seated. I want you to remain seated where you are. Paru is going to sing for us another beautiful rendition. The arti is going to come for you, and the Panchamrit and the Parsad, their meals provided for one and all. Please do stay and partake. And after Paru sings the beautiful rendition, then there is a dance item. But before we ask Paro to sing, I want to remind you that our dinner and dance will be on the 17th, which is on Saturday. And I have 100 tickets that I only sold 4 from yesterday. So can you all please help me? Can you all please help me? I can't take back the tickets to our president. She gets very upset. She becomes like a raging... Oh, no, that's somebody else. So I can't take back those tickets, so I need help. So I have 100 tickets. Actually, I don't have 100. I have 80 tickets. So I need some help. Can you all please help me? The dinner is on Saturday. At the time is 6:30. The dress code is elegant. And so please join with us. You would not be allowed entry without a ticket. Satya Sanatana Dharma ki jai.
भरोसा कर तुझीश्वर पर तुझे धोखा नहीं होगा ये जीवन भर जाएंगे तुझे रोना नहीं होगा भरोसा कर ईश्वर पर
Satya Sanatan Dharma ki jai. We will now join in the dance by the Bollywood Dance Company. Let's give them a round of applause, everybody.
हरि गोपाल बोलो, गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो, गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो, गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो, राधा रमण हरि गोपाल बोलो, राधा रमण हरि गोपाल बोलो, गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो, गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो।
Satya Sanatan Dharma ki jai. Let us give them another round of applause. Beautiful indeed. This evening, I want to remind you that tomorrow night will be the final night of our yajna. When you're coming, bring somebody with you. And tomorrow evening, we have a very interesting katha and something very special planned. So come and join with us tomorrow evening as we receive the blessings of Bhagwan. Shana is going to sing for us a beautiful rendition. Shana, something a little bit. Sri Rama Ayodhya में आई। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
प्रभु राम अयोध्या में आए, चलो रे सखी राज मिले।
विघ्नेश्वर जय जय, जय लंबोदर जय जय, जय गणनायक जय सुखदायक, जय जय गणेश जय जय.
Join us for a live broadcast. Pandit Sunil Sitahal Maharaj and the Ganesh Utsav Foundation Ganesh Utsav 2022 from August 30th to September 9th, 7 p.m. nightly at Palmis Park, San Fernando. Ganesh Puja every morning at 9 a.m. assisted by Pandit Satnarayan Maharaj. Chanting of 1,000 names of Lord Ganesh at 9 a.m. on Saturday 3rd September. Ganesh Visarjan on 9th September at Grove Park, Otahiti. Garud Puran Yagna from September 9th to 15th, 7 p.m. nightly, also at Palmis Park, San Fernando. Be sure to join us right here on Sankhya Television.
Sankhya Television is not only the first Hindu TV station in Trinidad and Tobago, but Sankhya TV also has the most coverage. You can find Sankhya Television on YouTube by searching for
Radhe Govinda Gopala Baju Govinda.